I came to the Whittington on the 11th of January when I delivered my son Ethan. Unfortunately, there was complications, and I had an emergency C-section, and I had a massive hemorrhage and an asthma attack whilst being C-sectioned, which was very scary. It was a very, very scary day. The staff, even from that point, were amazing. They were talking to me. They were trying to explain to me what was happening. I knew things were going wrong, and my husband was in the room with me, and they were trying to communicate with him as well, but obviously it was a big rush, and I ended up in intensive care. They looked after my husband so well that night. He wasn't on his own. They gave him his own private room so that him and my son could be together while I was, well, unconscious and been put up on wires and been breathed for. There was a lot of people talking to us and explaining what's happening and trying to manage what is a very difficult situation. They moved me to the maternity unit. I think there's the high dependency maternity unit, as quickly as they possibly could, and they were being really good about trying to get me back with my son as fast as possible. And the team there were lovely. The team there were very, very lovely. They spent time with me. They were very caring about the fact that I was in so much pain, and the fact that my treatment was quite invasive. I had to have lots of blood taken all the time. I was cannulas all over me, and big bruises all up me, and I just became like a walking science lab, I felt like. And they were trying to be very compassionate about that. There was only really one negative experience on that ward, where they left one member of staff to try and look after 3 high dependent people, and it meant that it became more about gathering stats. So it was more about making sure the observations were done on time rather than checking about my pain medication, because the pain medication had no real time frame, whereas the consultants wanted the observations at a particular point. And she was a bit stressed, which meant the bedside manner didn't really go down very well, and I don't think she'd completely read the notes. But it was literally one person. Other than that, I've had every specialist that's had anything to do with my care has come in at some point and spoken to me and talked to me about their part of it and what was going on, and actually being very nice. If anything, I felt that they were apologising a lot, when really what they were doing is they saved my life. There was no reason for them to apologise. I've had my specialist from before I gave birth, a lady called Claire Mellon, came down as soon as she found out what had happened and was just talking with me. I think I've had people from every stage sort of come in saying, "Oh, you don't remember me, but I was the person that was looking after your breathing. I was the person that was with you while you were in intensive care, and I was the one who was with your husband." So they've all come and talked to me, and they've all come to explain stuff. And while I've been on the ward, although it's busy and there's lots of people around, the staff, their compassion has been amazing. It's not really the stuff that's in their job description. I mean, yes, delivering medication and being available is one thing, and they all do that amazingly. But the stuff that isn't in their job description has been the stuff that's been getting me through. So I've had a couple of times where I've been in floods of tears about everything, and they've just come and held my hand and just been there for me. There was one night where I was so tired because I'd only had a couple of hours sleep since coming out of intensive care, and Ethan just wasn't sleeping. The midwife come and just said, "Tonight I'm going to take him. I will do all his feeds, I will do all of his changes. I just want you to sleep." And you have no idea on how grateful I was. That isn't in a job description. That's just her being a really good person. And the amount of times where I've just been trying to win him and I've got no idea what I'm doing, and they've come in and shown me things. Have you thought about trying this? Have you, maybe if you give this a go, my child liked this. And it was just that stuff, that level of support, of humanity, of just being one person there for another person, that I think actually was the stuff that made me really believe that the Whittington staff are actually incredible people before their job titles, before you even look at what their job roles were, because they've all just been there. And I think that actually, although there's some pretty intense stuff that I've had to go through, and there's no real part of my body that hasn't been messed around with and had some kind of procedure done to it, there's literally, they've dealt with it with such a decent way and actually had a sense of humour about things and talked to me about everything. The only thing I'd say that's been a bit of a problem is trying to balance being a patient as well as being a mum. It's been difficult. So having someone come in to take your blood pressure at 6 a.m, or having a window where you have to have your breakfast at this point, or breakfast doesn't really happen, when all you'd really want to do at that point is actually sleep. And that pressure can be quite intense. So even though my husband was about in the daytime to try and take a bit of a shift looking after the little one so that I could rest, I couldn't really rest at that point because I was being someone's patient, and I had to then, be available for whatever test needed to happen at that point, whatever observation. Little things that might be an idea is things like changing my water or offering me a cup of tea, which is normally lovely, but if they can see I'm asleep, maybe not wake me up to do that, because actually there's been a few times where all I've wanted to do is just sleep, and I would have gone and found a cup of tea somewhere if I really needed it at that point. But it's such a small thing for such an amazing service that I think that actually what should be focused on here is giving them time and space to be who they already are, to be the people they already are, which is people that actually care. Thank you.